Universities and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated. Yeah. Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and that's not what I was referring to.
Well, that's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live without getting a vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given God-given rights. Shame on you.
I cannot have these lies just continue to be told over and over again. Sorry. And wrong. That's false. You people repeatedly said it could not have come from a lab. Your boss said it was a very destructive conspiracy. Not that it was unlikely, not that it was not the best idea, a conspiracy. And based on that, you censored, and your administration that you worked for actively censored scientists, journalists. And what we now know is our own intelligence agencies at the same time were concluding and briefing members of Congress that it likely was from a lab leak. I mean, it's extraordinary. And now you've been caught red-handed because you thought that the rest of us wouldn't find out. You thought that the public would always be kept in the dark. And as it turns out, we now know these emails have become public that you were pushing this propaganda effort and yet claiming the mantle of science. Don't you see that what you have done has set back the respectability and integrity of science by generations? You are acting as propagandists. Let me just stop you right there.
People that have had this vaccine, I'm sorry to tell you, you've compromised your body. You have compromised your health. And one cardiologist said, by having the jab, you've compromised your heart 100%. So this is what the government has done to you. This is what the bureaucrats have done to you. You were led like sheep to the slaughter. You were led like sheep to the slaughter over having this vaccination against your will.
Joe, get away with this. You've defined this as medical martial law. What happens then? Because they want to indefinitely inject human beings, constantly giving them these software upgrades.
Yes, that's exactly right. And they'll use the military to do it. In our previous discussion, we talked about military medical martial law. That's what happened is the public health excuse, the public health authority was moved under the U.S. Department of Defense. The changes in the international health regulations do two primary things. They eliminate any concern for human rights, and secondarily, they provide authority to the WHO to effectively instruct our Department of Defense, any military in the world, who will then enforce the edicts. In the case of a public health emergency of international concern, those magic words make Tedros Adhanom the most important and most powerful man on this planet because he becomes a dictator. And by virtue of the rules surrounding that, all constitutional, all charter rights are suspended. That happened before, and they're getting ready to do it again with Marburg. They already spent the Marburg money. We already know it's going to be a Marburg pandemic, and they're going to lock up the world, force them to quarantine camps, and give them more injections with mRNA technology that changes people into effectively their symbio slaves. That's what's on the table, and it's coming, Maria. It's coming soon.
You actually think Marburg's the next thing?
Sure. It is, because the pieces of law put in place.
Breaking news that the mainstream media is desperate to bury. Explosive new entries from Dr. Anthony Fauci's private diary have just been released. In his own words, Fauci admits he visited Jeffrey Epstein's private island several times and was deeply worried the truth would come out. He claims he didn't do anything wrong while he was there. But if he had nothing to hide, why the panic? Who's to say what really happened on that island once the plane landed? It gets worse. The same diary reveals Fauci knew the COVID vaccine was already harming and killing people at rates far above the legal limit for public release. He admits the death risk crossed the red line, yet he and his allies covered up the numbers so the shots could still be forced on the American people. These are not conspiracy theories. These are Fauci's own handwritten confessions. President Trump warned us about this man for years. Now the diary proves it. Share this video before they try to make it disappear.
13 studies that have compared vaccinated children who follow the CDC schedule to completely unvaccinated children. In all 13 of these studies, the vaccinated were far sicker across every single category. The vaccinated children have higher rates of autism, neurodevelopmental disorders, ADHD, tics, asthma, learning disabilities, speech delays, diabetes, and even cancer. We recently found that looking at the Henry Ford vaccinated versus unvaccinated study that was recently unveiled at a Senate hearing. And then the most concerning is the mortality studies. Unfortunately, a study came out this year that looked at Louisiana Department of Health death records. They found that infants vaccinated at 2 months, there were 2-month-olds, and they followed the CDC schedule. They got all 6 vaccines. They had a 68% increased odds of dying in the following month compared to the babies who didn't get any vaccines. There's